pronounce it.
Kinna, that's right. Yes. Okay. I think we are live, though I'll have to reconnect the destination. Just give me a second, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's all right. Let's just go live with YouTube and Nourish today. So I'm so excited to be talking to you, Shamali. Welcome to our weekly webinar. I'm so pleased to be talking to somebody as accomplished as you in the field of media, as well as on an intellectual capability. I think you've kind of built this different image around yourself and with all your work. And I know you're a doctor, I mean, with your PhD. If you could just quickly introduce, how do you introduce yourself with so many hats and successes under your belt?
Right. That's always the trickiest part, because I don't know where to start. And I, in fact, just wrapped up I delivered my TED talk last week. And I was exactly addressing this point that I was wondering, how should I introduce myself to an absolutely new audience? So, to start with, I did my medicine. So it's MBBS, actually. I kind of graduated in science. And it's
Wow.
very, you could say I'm the classic Indian kid exposed to the Indian system, that if you are a 90 plus student, you either take medicine or you take engineering. So there was the classic route for me. And I switched to media post that, and under the pretext that I will come back to medicine at some point. And I've just been rolling in it. I feel absolutely best for getting the opportunities that I did in media. And while in media, like you said, I felt it was slightly less intellectually stimulating than I would have wanted or than I was used to. And that's where I realized that coaching was a wonderful extension to kind of combine the two. And that's what I always tell people, that no knowledge ever goes to waste. It's just about how you kind of, put the blocks together. And I combined my experience in media and performance to my love for knowledge and teaching, and how I can kind of extend that into some kind of legacy. Like, honestly, it's fun. The world of glamour is a lot of fun and all of that, but it wasn't as gratifying as, let's say, coaching is. So I think that's where I'm at today.
Fantastic. And I mean, I've seen some of your online sessions as well as some of the discussions you've had with celebrities over the years, and your involvement with your new business now. I believe the training and online training is not that old. Is that right? I mean, you've been coaching for a while, but the online bit of it is quite new. So if you could shed some
That's
light on
correct.
that.
Sure, that's correct, actually. So I think I would say I started the coaching bit about 2.5 years back, 3 years back. I would say it started having proper structure 2 years back when I started delivering the masterclass in physical classes. At that time, I was in Dubai. So it was one, I must give some credit to Middle East for kind of really stimulating me and attracting me towards that line, because I believe coaching here is still kind of catching up. It's still in that nascent stage. So that's why I believe it's a great time to kind of go ahead and do it. In Middle East, it's already a recognized, accredited, and established profession. So when you say you're a coach, people know what you're doing. Here you still have to kind of shed light and tell people what it is. So I was absolutely loving my my the role of doing physical master classes, of actually meeting people, interacting. You would know the energy is different when you have so many people in the room, and when you're kind of teaching them. And to see the transformation in person is absolutely amazing. And thanks to the lockdown, I think, so I was always this was always something I wanted to do, like convert it into an online course, an online masterclass, because a lot of people, once I moved to India, I started getting people from outside Mumbai. So I'm based in Mumbai, and that's where most of my physical masterclasses were held. And I started getting a lot of requests from people who are not in Mumbai and who would really be like, listen, we want to travel. We will try and, come over the weekend and do your weekend masterclass. But of course, it's not possible for everyone with work and family. So I started getting requirements for, do you have an online class? Can I just do it like in the night after my studies are done or after I'm back from work? And I always felt somewhat guilty of not doing that. And I have to give credit to lockdown for actually making it happen. So once we were running out of options to actually do it in person, is when I said now is the right time to kind of start converting that experience into an online session, into online modules. And so I would say the entire online journey started exactly when the lockdown did, at some in March or April.
Wow. So that's quite recent. And if you could throw light on what has been your biggest motivator behind getting into this domain, because I didn't talk about that. What kind of I understand coming from a medical background, there's this strong desire to help people. By the way, I also wanted to be a doctor at some point of time before I kind of chose to be in technology. And I'd almost got into a medical college, and I decided that it's not for me, and kind of pivoted at that stage. But I understand this desire and the ability to help people and to have empathy is paramount in that profession. So is that how you got into this domain, or was there some other motivator particularly behind it?
I think at the end of the day, I really tried to find, a symmetry or a cross-linking path between what I know, what I have, and what I can change. So I always tell people that the right profession for you is where your passion and skills marry. Most times, what happens is people either have the skill, but they are not passionate about the subject, or they are very passionate about it, but they lack the skills and they are not aware about it. So that's where you really kind of stumble upon more failures than success. So I think after my stint in while I was doing media, I knew that media was doing well for me. I was, being on camera, or just talking to people, talking to strangers, interviewing random people who I've just met, from MDs to CEOs to politicians to actors. No stage fright. At some point, when people started pointing it out to me, I realized that not everyone has the skill that easy. And when people brought that to my notice, that how do you do it, and how did you just, for example, go and just talk to Mr. Bachchan and have this amazing effortless interview, you didn't look nervous. Or there was this one time where I had to interview about 8 stars together. I remember, I think it was Dolly Ki Doli, where Sonam Kapoor and there were like 7 other actors, and that was the biggest starcast I had ever interviewed, the TV network had ever interviewed. So it still went very well, more than everyone was nervous about it. So when people started pointing out that this is not as easy for, say, a third person, that's when I really started breaking down that, wait a second, I might have a strategy for this. It just doesn't happen because I am. I think if you were to ask me about the motivator, I would say because I've done medicine, I already had some kind of interest in neuroscience and neuropsychology and all of that, and the way the human mind works. So that was always there. I just wanted to know how I can bring that in. Also, having been part of, the whole medical field, I was really the classic nerd. You put me behind books, you put me where there are no people, I was the happiest there. I did like to have conversations. So I've been that person, and I've really traversed that path to the other side, where I really enjoy conversations, or where I really enjoy this whole journey of being in media. And I realized if I can do it, anyone can do it. I've literally been on both extremes, kind of experience that. I also know how it is for someone who doesn't have the courage, or, the inspiration to speak in between 5 people or in front of 100 people. And I said, if I have done the journey, anyone can. And I was the biggest example of that. And that's where I really took a step back and started to devise this entire, masterclass, or this entire journey of being a public speaker, or just being the best speaker that you can be in your own potential. And that's where that whole thing started, really.
So it's called Inspire Academy. And it's is that right? I mean, that's the full name of the academy. It's called Inspire.
So it's called Speak to Inspire. And I was actually considering Inspire Academy, but for some reason Speak to Inspire just stuck to me, and I was just not able to just shrug it off, because I realized that is at the end of the day what I wanted to teach people, to be able to speak in a manner that they can inspire. I realized leaders need that. They need to be able to inspire action to people. Anyone who needs to get work done needs to know how to speak in a manner that they can inspire. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't like to preach, but I really believe that speech which impacts needs to inspire. And I think that's where the whole name came from.
No, this it's great actually. I mean, it is inspiring what you're doing. The question that I think is very relevant for everybody watching this is, the times have changed for teachers, people teaching, training, doing coaching, because now all that we do has to have a online format attached to it. And when you're doing that, you're more in front of the camera, not just in front of people. You're facing camera most of the time. And
Hmm.
I have spoken to a lot of instructors. They mostly face a challenge. They haven't done this earlier. So, what's one major tip that you would like to tell or talk about? How can people prepare for this new reality? What's the
Hmm.
best
Hmm.
way to address this?
Correct. You're absolutely right. This is literally the need of the hour. This is something that none of us actually, uh, you know, uh, saw that would be a primary thing in the future, that you need to know how to be able to face the camera, but that's how it is. The number one tip, which I also gave to one of these other interviews I did right at the start of the lockdown, was that get comfortable with watching yourself on screen. Because what happens is, when we are doing any of these interviews or when you're teaching people, you do tend to become conscious of yourself when you see your own picture, your own video in one of the frames. And that's when people start becoming conscious, and they're nervous, and they're wondering if they're looking fine. And which doesn't happen in person, right? Because when you're in person, you are really looking at the people, you are not aware of how you're looking. So there are two things. You either completely switch off the option where you can see yourself. Number two, which is probably more practical, is get used to seeing yourself on camera, which means today we have phones with camera. Practice on it on the selfie bit or on the regular camera with a tripod, and just watch yourself again and again, and change what you don't like, and adapt what you like. So you really have to kind of here adapt some kind of self analysis, and be a good self critic, where you say, hey, I like this part about myself, I'm going to keep that. But let's say I blink a lot, or let's say my voice is not audible, let me kind of change that. So really, self feedback is one of the best things I would suggest any professor who's trying to do switch to the video medium, and really get used to it as soon as possible, because like you said, that is the new reality.
No, fantastic. And I think some of the people that I speak to have this as biggest roadblocks to them going online. I personally feel like I would suggest everybody to go for your course, and to visit your academy and start doing this on a serious note. I understand that a lot of these suggestions are important to be implemented, but when you really get in front of a camera or on stage, you need to have a coach that could correct you, watch you, and constantly handhold to get you to the next step. Now, what, according to you, is the importance of being able to do that? Now, you spoke about how they can actually hack the process. How could you motivate someone to take that first step? Because a lot of people I know are fantastic instructors. They could be really
Hmm.
impressive when they start talking, but how do
Hmm.
they take that plunge, and what would be the why that pushes them to do this?
That's a very good question, Kinner. In fact, that reminds me of one of my students who I coached during the lockdown, and he was an aspiring instructor. He did the 5 modules that I have, all of them. And I said, well, you're ready, you just get on the video and do it. And I followed with him about a week or 10 days later. I followed up with him to check, how he was doing. And he said, well, I'm taking a video every day, but I don't think it's not perfect yet, so I'm going to wait, and when it's the right video, I'll send it to you. And that's when I told him, stop waiting for the perfect video, because it is going to take a while. I can tell you by personal experience that your first video is 100% not going to be perfect. When I got in front of the camera, I remember watching my very first episode on television, literally cringing. I had a pillow and I was like watching from between the sides and coming back, because it's awkward to see yourself the very first time. You even sound different to yourself. So let me tell you that our voice sounds different to us while we are speaking, but if you record it and play it back, it sounds different to other people. So there are going to be a lot of pitfalls and some kind of really surprises being thrown at you when you get into the journey. But I suggest do it as fast as possible, because by the 8th, 10th, 15th, 30th day, you will finally start seeing some kind of improvement. So if I would think of that one motivator, I would say that the minute you start, your journey is only upwards. If you don't start, I can guarantee that there is not going to be any progress, there's not going to be any success, there is absolutely no journey. So if you really see yourself as wanting to reach thousands and millions of people, today we are in such amazing times where through the internet, you and I can talk to hundreds others who are interested in the same thing. And with the lockdown, I would say the instructors, course creators should really look at this as a blessing in disguise, because people are looking to the internet to up their skills. And if you feel you have something to offer, something that someone somewhere in another corner of the world or city is really going to benefit from, you have to do it. You have to put it out there. It couldn't get honestly easier than this. I remember physical master classes. Filling up a room is difficult, and we all do it. We know how difficult it is to get those 20, those 50, those 100 in the room. There is travel, there are all those logistics involved, they've got to be free. Now, if you create a course and just put it out there, anyone can buy it and consume it at their time. It doesn't need to be, a certain time of the day. And if you're not doing it, you're really missing out on a big chunk of the audience there that might be consuming your course if it's there. So I feel now really is the time to kind of jump on any of these hassles or any of these little pitfalls that you feel you have, or any of the drawbacks that you have, be it facing the video. It's You just literally jump into it and start doing it. And like you said, get a coach who at least guides you to kind of tell you if you're doing it right and what you can change.
Thank you so much for that. I think I loved the quote that you said. So once you start, it's only upwards from there. Brilliant. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's something that you could frame on top of the table. And I understand that starting is the roadblock for a lot of people, and this would help. I mean, I really appreciate that you're helping people to get there, because this is something that truly has the power to transform so many lives. Like if you've got a skill and you can teach it to other people, that's such a blessing, and it has the impact on people that you wouldn't even know in the real world. Now, what is the
Absolutely.
difference? What is the difference that you would say should be there when you're designing an offline course and a pure online course? Because there might be a lot of courses now that are only going to say pure online, or workshops or
Mm,
interactions. So what should
mm,
be the
mm.
big difference that people have to keep in mind?
Ideally, I would try and encourage all course creators to think of how they can transform their physical masterclass experience to an online one. How can you get all of that online is how I would want you to start thinking. For example, when I was, kind of converting the public speaking masterclass course, I was really not enjoying initially, because when I meet people, when I kind of interact with them, I really kind of put them in a spot and sometimes do these impromptu exercises where I'll tell them, why don't you come up and speak about this? And why don't you come up and speak about this? So when people are put in a spot, they really go ahead and speak, and they discover so many amazing things about them. So this was one of those exercises which I realized I cannot really do in an online course. So you need to first identify what cannot be converted. Then you need to think of how you can actually really bring that forward. So one of the examples I could give is try and think of a mix of all your options. So for example, you could have some part of your course which is recorded, which means that you just record it, upload it, and it's available for them to consume at any time. You could maybe insert or include a 1 hour live webinar, or one section of the course can be live, where you are personally teaching, personally addressing any queries they might have, and personally kind of doing the kind of exercise that I just mentioned, like an impromptu speech, or where it encourages conversation. For example, if I were to coach someone who is an introvert, I would 100% ensure that a live webinar is included in his course module, because that's the only way he will really implement what he's learning, because I need to hear him back talking to me. I need to listen to him, and I need to encourage him to speak while I'm there, not just with a passive course that he's listening. So understand in your field, what can you really convert from the physical part to the online part. Of course, the knowledge and the lectures and the slides, all of it can be converted, but these exercises, assessments are the tricky ones, and that's where I would really tell you to spend some time. And if you had to put it as a broad question to yourself, put it as, how can I transform this exact experience to the online user or to the online learner, and then uh, go from there.
Well, that's a great suggestion, considering people have to take that plunge and design these two experiences very differently. So I appreciate you mentioning the fact that they have to design them, in a specific way. Now, what do you think are the biggest challenges that your students or people that you coach, and I believe that you people that you coach are at different stages. Some of them are leaders in industrial domains. Some of them might be from the media or aspirational media entrants. The common problems that you see that people could plan for when they are going to be in front of the camera and building content.
Hmm.
What should be the tack there?
So I would really suggest, you very rightly said that all of them are different. And I kind of approached this issue when I started my online webinars. And the inquiries were of all different kinds, because I had a group which was, the aspiring students who were 18 plus and who just wanted to be confident speakers because they were graduating, heading to college, and just getting out of school. So they wanted to kind of have that upper skill on their speaking. There were the 30 plus types, the mid manager level, who want to obviously get onto the leadership ladder and kind of climb that. And then there are the higher ones who are, say, MDs and CEOs, and they want to be coached. So, really, number one, understand who you're creating the course for. Is it a beginner level? Is it intermediate? Is it advanced? Just kind of be aware of who you're really addressing to. So it might be very fascinating to tell yourself that, no, I'm just going to do this for the advanced level and I don't want to address beginners. But understand where the market really is, and where people are coming from. So I remember when I launched my first course, it was really mid-level, let's say 30 to 40s, and they were kind of office goers and all of that. But in between, I had about double the number of inquiries of people who were 18 plus, 18 to 24, and I didn't want to not have anything for them. That's when I kind of took the same similar material with more relevant information for 18 plus. So let's say I cut down the jargon, I kind of simplified my content, I made it more relatable to 18 to 24. And that's when I launched the course, which is public speaking for introverts. And it was received so well because it was directed for them, and all introverts knew that, great, I can be comfortable in an environment where it's already proven or highlighted that I'm an introvert, so no one is going to push me. And it was beautiful because it just created a very safe environment for them, and they were because they knew the other people in the classes are also think of themselves as introvert. They were openly conversing, kind of sharing, and it was really that 1 week was life changing for them, because after that they were opening up, they were going out and initiating conversations. So I would say number one, really identify who your audience is, and you can either simplify it further if you're going, to the lower age group or to lesser advanced audience, and you can add more advanced stuff or more challenging stuff, challenging assessments if you're going for the higher audience. So really, like you said, target audience is very important.
So there's an interesting question that one of the persons from the audience has asked. Now, Ronnie is asking, how do you identify your target audience? And then how do you customize your content for that audience? So you've addressed how do you customize a bit, but I get the point here. I think it's important for people to understand even before they launch the course, how can they identify the kind of people they're going to be talking to? So what's your suggestion on that?
I think that's a very valid question, Ronnie. Thank you for that. I would say, really, once you deliver the course is when you will realize who is taking this better. So when I started, so when you're coaching, let's say, a high level or an advanced or a 40 plus, 45 plus, you obviously have to kind of see what kind of experience they are coming from. So I will tell you, the advanced level coaching is generally one to one, which I'm sure a lot of course creators will agree, because that is the kind of coaching that is received well only when it's delivered in a one-to-one manner, in a very specific manner, which can be received well by the learner. Um, I would suggest, depending on what your understanding of the subject is, what your experience in your subject is, how you decide what my target audience is. For example, if it's just been, let's say, you are into what is one of the courses that is running on your platform right now? I could probably give an example on that.
So a lot of people do, let's say, culinary. Culinary is quite popular.
Okay.
Yoga. I mean, you could
Hmm.
pick any domain. Dance. Um,
Hmm.
maybe one
Okay.
of those.
So
Would that?
perfect. So let's say fitness. So if you are into fitness, and let's say you have started, or you are just 2 or 3 years old into it, but you already know how difficult it is for a beginner. Let's say you're a mid-level fitness instructor, and now you feel confident enough to help someone start up. Let's say there is another aspiring, fitness candidate who wants to do what you're doing now, who wants to do exactly the same thing 3 years from now. This is when you can address or make a course for beginners, so fitness level for beginners. And once you yourself advance to a later stage, let's say you're now into a more advanced stage where you've established your business, you have a running base of clients, now you know how the business works, then you can maybe address how to create a business for fitness instructors. So you really need to identify according to your own expertise, your own experience, and you will know how easy or difficult it is. For example, if you are at mid level, you will know you cannot teach an advanced level fitness course, and you will not know how to help someone start a business. So you will already know that. So understand and analyze your own expertise and experience. And when you start feeling comfortable about a certain age and stage, that's when you start that kind of course. And I think that is how you would probably also know how what your target audience is, as Ronnie was asking.
So yeah, just to add to that, in the tech world, we call it going lean. You have to start somewhere, experiment with a few users, and once you get the feedback, once you understand this works, then you scale it up. So very valid answer and suggestion there. Thanks for that, Shamali. Now there's another seller on the platform. There's a Successful Academy, and I think they're attending this webinar right now. So it's called Transcend Minds. Their question is, how do we ensure we create engagement beyond the online courses? How do you make sure that you also enter into the real world?
So that's a very, very valid question. Thank you for that. I think engagement beyond the online courses is extremely important, because you need to understand that most of the times your customers will be the same customers. The past customers will rebuy, and you will rebook them for your future courses. And that's going to happen very naturally, because first of all, people take time to even trust any of these online course providers. And if you've hit the nail on the head, if they like what you're doing, they've purchased one of your courses, there are chances that they will purchase or want to know what next you have to offer. So one of the things that I like to do is follow up on my previous students to check on what their speaking journey is like. For example, I always tell them that the 2 days of speaking masterclass that they used to do with me, because I used to get inquiries, oh, in 2 days I'll become an amazing speaker. So can I do this after 2 days? And I used to always tell them, you are starting your speaking journey, and I'm going to give you all the tools and the skills, and you need to commit to it every day for the rest of your life to really become the kind of speaker that you want to be. And it is going to be a journey, and I'm going to be, I'll be happy to help you on the journey, but you have to really follow through with it. You cannot do a weekend course and then just assume it's all done. So you have to be a part of their journey, whatever you are offering, in a very genuine manner. Kind of understand that you also at some point didn't know any of that knowledge, and you have become an expert because you did certain things, and those are the skills that you need to pass on to your students. So definitely follow up with people who have completed their course. Sometimes you will find that they inquired, but they didn't really go through. So find out what it is they are looking for, because maybe that will help you identify a market that you didn't think of. For example, when I started getting inquiries for the introvert bit, I never had thought I'll do a class for them. But it made me curious, and it made me realize that so many people are actually struggling with this, and I have the skills to help them. So I definitely want to kind of, put out a course for them. So always also organize some form of freebies or bonuses. It could be worksheets, it could be checklists that they can, use in whatever they're doing, in what you're offering. And kind of really think from the user's perspective, what will they be happy to have in their mailbox, or what is that one thing that can really help them in the journey that they have. Maybe you can give them tips, maybe you can tell them, if you're, teaching culinary, where can they find the best culinary tools, where can they shop. Maybe you discovered a shop 1 week back, which you didn't know offers such amazing stuff to cook. So you tell them that. You tie up with brands who kind of offer, let's say, fitness mats, and kind of give them a discount. Let's say if you do it through me, you get it, at a 50% discount if you use my code. So the options are endless. You need to understand that you want to put yourself in the expert bracket throughout, even after their course is done. So talk about that subject to them as much as possible through email, through your social media. Keep posting knowledgeable stuff on your social media, so that they never have enough of you. They want to know more. And when you are again relaunching a course, they will be very happy, because they will want to know what this is, because you have offered them so much value throughout their journey. So really, beyond classes, uh, do give an do give a year to understand if got any value out of it. Keep a person to really kind of get that feedback. Let's say someone said, sorry, it was not what I expected. So really ask them, what is it that you want, and maybe we can help you there. So genuinely follow up with your students.
That's actually some. I mean, this in itself is a course. Thank you so much for adding all those amazing pieces here.
Hmm.
I mean, there's so much to remember and crunch, but I believe what you're talking about are some of the best practices that I do see on and off every single successful content creator practicing or following through. So I'm curious if you maintain a social media group or a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group where you constantly share this information, or do you generally do that through your wall? I mean, how does it work?
So I'm going to be honest. I have seen a lot of creators kind of use groups, but I have come to the idea and gone, and I've as of now, I don't have an active group yet, because I realize there's so many modes of communication. This just feels like one more to maintain, and I don't want to make a group and not keep it active. So, for example, I'm very active on all my social media channels, which I encourage all my students, participants, webinar attendees to follow. Like, there is a YouTube channel, I'm very active on Instagram and on Facebook, and these are verified pages that are there, and I've worked really hard on it over the years with all my history there. And it's really much more easier to kind of do it there and have people come there. Plus email. I feel email is also an amazing bit to keep in touch. It's just that I do know Gmail now kind of, differentiates primary to social to
Yeah.
promotional. So it kind of sometimes gets difficult to reach your participant. But I feel as of now, a group is absolutely, I mean, a Facebook group is okay if you don't have one. WhatsApp group is something that I would encourage because I feel that helps me keep in touch with my participants much more closely. So once I finish a webinar with them, they become a part of a WhatsApp group where they get constant updates about what I am doing. I'm launching a course, and where I encourage them to share their parts. Let's say they recorded a video, so I make sure that they share it with me so that I can give them feedback. And people in the group also, kind of encourage feedback and tell them what they liked and didn't like about the video. So I feel WhatsApp group kind of works really well to keep in touch. I feel Facebook group now, because of a lot happening there, sometimes content can get lost. So I feel this is much more personal. Yes.
Thanks. I think it makes sense, and you would have to ideally use all the channels. That's what I see the best content creators utilizing. Personally, if you ask me, I'm not a big fan of email as a great communication tool anymore because it just gets overwhelming. I mean, with all the
Yeah,
bifurcations as well as everybody sending you emails, is just gets lost personally for me.
I
There are
agree.
lots of questions that are, guys who are watching this content are asking. I would just highlight maybe a couple of them. So this is a question by Sunny who's talking about what language should he finalize when he's looking to launch his course to get to the maximum number of participants. And this is a general question a lot of people get confused about. Do you go vernacular? Do you do English? Do you do Hindi? How do you decide on that? And what's the primary language that you usually use for your courses?
Thank you, Sunny, for that wonderful question. It is so, so, so valid, and I completely get, where the confusion is coming from. Honestly, Kinner, all my courses are in English as of now. There was a time, or there might be a time in future where I will think of putting them in Hindi as well. I'll tell you why, because when I was in Dubai and I was conducting this in the Middle East, English seemed the most natural thing to do because that's how everyone communicates. That's how I think. That's how I have grown up. So for me, English seems like the most easy way to communicate because that's how I really process everything. And Sunny, I would ask you to, first question yourself, what is your way of naturally communicating? Because I don't encourage any student to deliver a course in a language that they are not comfortable with, because then your command over the language takes more attention than your knowledge might be amazing, but if you're not able to deliver it in a convincing manner, it's not worth it. And if you're struggling with the language that you're delivering, then it is not going to reach any audience. They are just going to see you fumbling and that you're not confident. So if, let's say, Hindi, for example, is your most comfortable language, then just go for it. Because let me tell you, there is an audience for every language. There is an audience who is waiting to kind of consume these kind of courses in their own personal language. So you will be surprised. You launch a course in Marathi, you will find takers. You launch a course in Hindi, you will find takers. Of course, everything is turning English medium today, so you are going to maybe find lots of takers for that, but you have to first really decide your comfort level. And you always have that option of dubbing. If you feel that I'm losing out, on another entire big audience that might really benefit from my course or that might want to use my skill, then you can always just get your courses dubbed in the language that you want. But your comfort is of prime importance because it's going to show on video. You cannot lie to the camera. You cannot appear confident on the camera if you're struggling with the language. So just pick something that you're comfortable with and you will find the market.
Oh, that's great. And I'll add to that question. What if you have, as a company, and get that question quite often from people who could have access to both or three or four language based creators. So what would be your take on that, Shamali? I mean, if somebody could do it in Hindi, English, Marathi, all three, what do they start
Hmm.
with and what do they carry on with?
then I think you should start with what has the maximum reach in your
Hmm.
city or your
Yeah.
country, and what reaches most amount of people. Like for example, I know my comfort and my reach is going to be more English, so I've started with English. Maybe at some point I will feel that I'm missing out on a certain area of the audience, or I will feel that the audience is not gaining enough from me, those who are Hindi speaking. Then I will also release a course in Hindi. But again, like I said, it's a journey, and every course creator will decide that once they've delivered a course, they will always come to a point few weeks or few months later where they are going to create one more, and then it's just a process of constantly working on it. When the courses are selling or not selling, you are going to realize what's working and what's not working. So if you can do all three or more than one languages, just start with the one that has the biggest market reach and then switch to the others.
Oh, that's great suggestion. Thanks. I see that languages could have an advantage, but I do understand what you're suggesting, and makes a lot of sense that stick to what you like, and
Hmm.
kind of what people say, that if you cater to your own itch, you've got better chances of finding the best customers, if instead of going
Hmm.
for what's popular alone. And the market sizing is another big factor that I would say would should be given importance to, which is what's the biggest
Hmm.
audience waiting to listen to. So
Hmm.
that's brilliant. Now we have kind of got not too much time left on the show, but one of the biggest questions that everybody has on their mind is that when I do a course and I put the content on social media advertising the program that I've just launched, it doesn't give me too much result if I'm not an influencer. I haven't got thousands or lakhs of
Hmm.
people following. So in
Hmm.
that case, what should be a content creator doing? How do you hack sales? What has been your formula, and how would you
Hmm.
suggest they make the real sale happen? Because doesn't matter how good the content is, it's got to
Hmm.
sell to be
Hmm.
able to really be viable.
Hmm. So, honestly, I feel there's just, I agree with you. There is a lot of pressure for everyone now to be an influencer in their field. And if they have less than 1,000 or less than 5,000 followers, they just feel that, their expertise is not worth it, or people are going to doubt it. So, number one, I really want you to stop thinking of that as any kind of roadblock. I'm telling you, I know of coaches who are so amazing, who are running full classes, and this coach has barely 600 or 700 followers on his Instagram. Like, I met him and I was like, he's amazing, but I went on his social media and I was like, oh, that's surprising. But that's the expectation we have, which is absolute, which is something that we should not fall to. I would suggest today, there are two things that I could suggest. One is you do ads, like you do lots of Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, because that will attract the right kind of people to your course. You put a landing page, or put a space where you get leads, and you kind of then contact this audience. You create funnel, right? I'm sure course creators have already probably heard this term many times, the sales funnel. But just kind of use social media to get your leads. Today we just swipe up, put our details inside, and the course creator can get in touch with the right audience. So honestly, use social media just for that: Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads. Number two, what you could do is, which this other person was doing, he is, let me put it that way, a very traditional form of coach, where his coaching business has boomed right before any of the social media was there. He's been coaching since 10 years. So honestly, he doesn't feel like he's missing out. I don't feel like he's missing out because his classes are always full. He has people to manage him, which means that there's one person who's only working on selling courses. So if you
Yeah.
have that kind of support, or if that's a very traditional business format, right, Skinner? Because that's what we used to do. If you have a
Yeah.
business, and today we just have this pressure wanting to do everything ourselves. We expect the content creator to know how to run a social media channel, and to be active everywhere. I would say it's honestly a lot of pressure, and I feel don't fall to that. Just focus on creating content, and if you can't afford to keep a person to sell your courses, keep some time aside for this admin kind of work or this marketing kind of work, because today we cannot ignore it. And trust me, today it's also very easy. Today, running an ad yourself is not that difficult. So keep aside some budget for it. Consider it as an investment in your courses, and don't worry about the number of followers. I see so many TED speakers, for example, have barely any presence on social media, but they are doing real work. So don't think that if you don't have followers, people will kind of doubt that, because there are people of all kinds. Let's say tomorrow you write a book and it becomes a bestseller. The audience will come pouring in, and your page will just boom. But that shouldn't be the end goal. That can be a part of the process, but that shouldn't be what should excite you. You should really look at getting in touch with people who would really want your courses today.
No, so what you've just mentioned, and I'm a big fan of sales funnels. So I think you've just kind of reiterated all that for us. And some of the people watching this probably do not realize how big all this can get. On
Mm,
our platform, we've got people in culinary, fitness, dance, music who have gone from zero to let's say about 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs of sales every month within the first 2 months. And there are so many of those. And once you reach that kind of scale, it's really not difficult for you to build a team. 2 or 3 people. We've had academies on our platform, and some of them are super successful, and they've reached a team size of 10 or 15 people with a turnover of let's say 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs every month. So
mm,
people don't realize that this could become like their main business, doing tangible
mm,
revenues. And I'm so surprised, Shamali, that you've mastered and understood more about sales funnels and you utilize ads, because I remember one of our consultants and coaches in Australia mentioning to us that the only way you're going to make money through an online piece of content is if you utilize ads well, because none
mm,
of the
mm,
platforms would let organic fly now. It's just the
mm,
way they're
mm,
designed. It can
mm,
only
mm.
get you so far. So I think it's super impressive that you've tapped into ads already. What's your? I know this is a cliched question, but what's your take on Nourish? How's your experience been? I know you've been running your academy on the platform. What would you like to? I mean, if you would like to share your experience and what do you think about the platform?
Well, I would say Nourish has completely surprised me. I was on the lookout for, a perfect platform that will give me the kind of seamless experience that I was looking for. I'll be honest, initially I was actually looking, I started the thought of hosting my courses on my own website, and sitting with my website designer, I'm all ambitious, and he tells me, that is a lot of work. I said, how is that? I mean, why is the website designer so worried about it? And he told me, there is a firewall involved, and there's got to be security, there's got to be username and password. And I was just, with everything that he said, I just felt so heavy, and it just felt like a task. And I must say that when I came across Nourish, my life just got saved, because it just literally, I skipped all those steps, and I could still have my own, academy name. And it's just that they take care of all the back end work and all the work that I didn't want to get into. I really wanted to focus on creating the content and giving value. And the team, I must say, Kinner, is amazing. They are so quick in responding to any of the queries that I've had. Creating pages there is a dream, because it's pretty quick. I remember one of your members was super surprised when in 2, 3, maximum 3 days, I created the entire content course, content layout, and the user journey, and it is that easy. So I've had a fab experience with Nourish so far, and I'm really looking forward to a good association from here.
Thank you so much. But your website is amazing, I must say. You've got a really good sense of design, and I think it's shaping up really well. I heard that you're building a lot of more courses, you're expanding it, and you're going to do much more with it. We are super excited to support you because we see that. I mean, you're not just one instructor. What you're doing with all that success behind you, I think you really what you work on has the potential to impact so many more. And that's really the world we see and we stand for, that people should be confidently able to get in front of the camera, or in front of people and share the knowledge, share their skills and ability. So it's
Hmm.
been fantastic. Thank you so much, Shamali. I mean, there are so many other questions I wish I could have asked. Uh, Paucity of time, but we would love to have you back again on the show
Hmm.
someday soon. Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely.
Thank you, Kinnard. This was wonderful. I honestly didn't even realize we almost, an hour closed, but this was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this with me. In fact, while speaking with you about this interview, I also realized that a lot of people are trying to figure how to put it all out on video. So maybe, I don't know, you and I, Nourish and I could get together, Nourish and Speak to Inspire Academy, and we could come up with something for course creators about how to structure course and how to put it out on video. And I think that'll be of big benefit to everyone who comes across. So that's something that maybe we could work on. And thank you for
No,
this again.
absolutely. Let's talk backstage right after this. But thank you so much.
Great. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.